Good morning and welcome to another edition of Roadhouse Live. We are live. Today is December. I repeat, December. It is a new month, 2023. What you got to say about that there, Sonny?
Nothing. I think it's way too early for that today.
Really? So I need to I need to turn it down. Is that what you're telling me?
Can
They're
you
not
hear me?
excited that we're that much closer to Santa Claus coming to town.
Yes.
Did you know that he knows when you're sleeping? Did you know?
That's kind of creepy.
It really is, though, isn't it? I always kind of thought that, even as a kid. It's like, why is he watching me? Why is this happening?
Yes.
Why is this the thing? Speaking of things, Sonny, what did you think about the Cybertruck?
It's an ugly piece of shit. But, reading more about it, I think they're talking about how the way he's priced it, they they may pivot from this ugly looking thing to something a little bit more decent, like a normal truck down the road,
Right.
to keep a leg up on the market.
Yeah, I think that that's really a great question as far as how he's going to go about navigating this moving forward. It's like, look, the idea of a pickup truck, being able to beat a Porsche while towing a Porsche, that's kind of cool. That's that's kind of cool. Gotta say.
Right. But for how long is the key question. I mean, people who want to buy a utility truck, you know, they want to be able to carry the load to go further. It's not like a, one way ticket. You're going
Mhm.
uphill with the trailer and now you're out of juice.
Huh, you know what? That's an interesting point. That's an interesting. I did not even contemplate the fact that if you decided to try to haul a Porsche in a race, street race, you might not have any battery after that. Huh. Well, folks, this is why you listen to the show because of Sonny's great insights and observations. This is why we do this every day. Um, Speaking of other things, we didn't have any early morning data this morning. We do have data after open.
We have
Um,
shit ton of data today, man.
but after open, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll kind of deal with that as it comes. Nvidia announces that they're going to have a little T90 dividend party over there, which is kind of cool. Um, Looking at everything within the market and whatnot, we're just trading in this range all over again. It's like every time it feels like we're going to get like a big move, we find ourselves right back into the range. What do you think about that?
I think we're setting up for a nice move in the next couple of weeks. FOMC is what, on the 15th?
Hmm.
We have another PMI data coming out a couple of days before that. That will I think we are setting up for that week, to have a move. I mean, we have Powell today twice. That will kind of give us a hint as to, okay, what they're looking to do. If
Hmm.
he keeps saying data dependent, then, we just look at the data and see, hey, we could be fucked. But this is a nice base building for some type of move. And it's going to be a significant move. We can't be just chopping here, right? We just here digesting the money and wait a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something to that. It's like, have you noticed, to your eye, because I've noticed to my eye, um, Flow
Can you add
has.
stonk?
Do we have Stunk? I don't have
Yeah,
him showing up on the stream. Oh, there he is.
yeah.
Stonks.
Hey,
Hey,
all right,
good to see you, buddy.
I'm in.
Have you noticed that Flow is kind of, you know, cooled a little bit, and there's some danger lines to the downside? Have you noticed that at all?
I was thinking that I had kind of one eye on things yesterday with a busy day, but yeah, it was looking that way.
Yeah. which I don't know how much of that is just, buying protection or how much of that is just the intraday momentum that they were offering up. There's a nice little candle coming in here. Um, really, I'm not sure exactly how that equates at the end of the day as far as what that activity was. We do know that going into this week that the 15th was very, very bullish, right? Before this week even began, we knew that that 15th date was extremely bullish. So the question is the flow over the last couple of days, was that to kind of hedge out that 15th flow? Or are they offering more directionals? Because I don't know that I've seen them pull off of a ton of that 15 date as far as upside flow. I don't know that I've seen that. All right, I'll just keep on talking to myself. Very good.
No, yeah, I think I'm with you there.
Okay, so if we're coming back and we're looking at the chart, basically we retraced that move that we got in the last 3 seconds of the day, basically the power move up and through. We retraced it. We're kind of down pitter pattering in and around it and through here. A couple of points here, a couple of points there. The question is more than anything, now what? We've defended several levels multiple times on both the NQ and the ES. Is that enough, or do we need to keep on retesting and retesting before we start melting back higher? The divergence that we saw yesterday was something that we haven't seen in a while. You had the Dow up just massively up yesterday. And you had basically a NASDAQ that was flat to red. So there was rotation going on. I know Boeing had a great day. I know Boeing's flow is really, really good, but it was obvious that there was some type of rotation, some type of something going on. And the flow in and around Apple continues to be fairly sour, even though somehow it managed to come back up and touch 190 yesterday. Sour. So how do we play it, guys? Do you have any thoughts, or do you want to run through the news side?
Apple's been very interesting. The range it's been hovering in the last few days.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been some big dark pools that have come in, month end, and the rebalancing and all that stuff is supposed to happen today. Some inclusion, some removal. So funds will be, adding, removing Apple and all the big guys, because reading up some of the things, the news again is okay. The top 7 have been moving the markets up. What about the rest of them? And whenever they kind of start talking about this, like, the FUD scenario about, okay, what happened to the rebalancing? They're too heavy, they need to be, reduced across the board, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So Apple's flow, like you said, it's like one call, one put, one call, one put, right? And in the same range. And we've been hovering in the same range. So looking at ES and the other stuff, like, okay, we've been in this chop zone, and it kind of makes sense for Apple to do that too. That the other heavyweight they keep moving around is Microsoft, though. It has some really good range the whole month.
Mm-hmm.
It has moved decent moves up and down, and it's been good play for people if they want to do it. Whereas Apple has just been like, okay, chop, you make a $5 here, $3 there kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I really haven't touched it. And yeah, I know I've been watching it. You've been talking about it, but it's just, to me, it's just odd for it to be just stagnating here.
Yeah. Which the question is where is it? Whenever you get that stagnation, the question is accumulation or distribution, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Isn't that's stagnation? You can call it consolidation. You can call it a lot of different things, but what is it? Are we talking about accumulation or distribution? And I think that that's always something that you have to look at and be aware of when you get this sideways type move. And it's like, look, yesterday felt massively painful in a lot of ways, but it's like when you go back and you look at it, it's like we really didn't move, right? It's like the Dow moved, but we really didn't move. So now the age-old question is, Sonny, you got anything in the news, anything going on over there that is kind of catalyst, or are we still waiting for data to give us, direction on how we're going to close out the week?
Yeah, news-wise has been very muted today, especially today because we got J Power twice today. So I think people just want to hear him talk, and the first speech is going to be the more significant versus the second, right? I mean, unless he's just going to say opposite of what he said in the first speech.
Is he giving an actual speech, or is this like one of those campfire? We're just going to
Yeah,
talk
no,
about
it's one of
everything.
those fireside chats that he's doing.
And what time is that?
So he's at where is J Power? 11 EST, so 8, and then he's again at 1. No, 11. Yeah.
Okay.
But in between, we have the ISM manufacturing data. We have Goolsby, U.S. manufacturing PMI for November, 15 minutes after the open. Majority of the data is all is after the open today.
Mhm.
And then we have the Atlanta Fed GDP at 8:30 Pacific.
Mhm.
But today is just going to be one of those days, headline driven, up and down kind of deal.
Mhm.
But I think there may be some chop till Powell speaks the first speech.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be trading light and not going heavy into anything unless I see a good setup for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't blame you.
Yeah, otherwise I'm just going to be sitting around and
Yeah. It's like we're sitting here jostling around this pivot on the ES here, this intraday pivot. Look, today has the ability to be a really, really interesting day. We've been in this massive falling wedge all morning, just a falling channel, fall. It tested it once and then rejected, and we're on the verge of putting in a lower low here off of that. So look, we're going to see how it goes and how it plays. I'll turn it over to who wants the mic. You want it, Stock, or Sonny? You got more to jump in with?
I'll just cover a couple of news articles, then we can go to Stonk real quick.
Okay.
So Paramount is rumored to be in talks with Apple to bundle up the streaming services. Depending on which article you read, some say Apple approached Paramount, and then some say Paramount approached Apple. I think it's Paramount approached Apple for it, for bundling up their services. Supermicro SMCI, it dipped yesterday. I haven't looked at it today, so they did a offering of 530 million, offering at 262 a share. So it's going to stabilize there for a few days. Or LVS, we saw a lot of flow on that, both up and down yesterday. So their offering that they had done closes today, and it should. I think the bull flow comes into play after that once their offering closes down. Dell reported their numbers, so their results were weaker than expected. So Intel, AMD are definitely going to be affected by that. Intel, I think it was 20% of last year, 20% of their profits come from PC sales, and Dell, Dell, HP are the one and two in the market. So definitely keep an eye on that. We did see some put flow for Intel a couple of days ago that had come in. I didn't see what it did this morning, but definitely, the Dell guidance wasn't good. They're forecasting lower. So those would be good plays. Yesterday, I had mentioned that Uber may get into the S&P 500. It's going to be announced today, and inclusion will be on the 18th. The other two companies are, I think, KKR and somebody else. This was an interesting piece of news yesterday, but this company is not traded though. But U.S. has compelled the Saudi fund to exit AI chip startup backed by Altman. They have given about $25 million, but U.S. security firm that checks out foreign investment asked the Saudis to unwind their position in the AI chips. So the government is like really watching this sector very closely. With the AI sector, where money going, who's putting the money and where, whatnot. And just tying that in. So, if you look at the NVIDIA's ER, Singapore, so they had 404% higher profit from Singapore, investment from Singapore into data centers and AI chips. And Singapore is one of those countries they stay very quiet, don't try to make waves and stuff. But it's also just like Hong Kong, right? It's very China centric. There's a lot of Chinese banks, um, finance companies, things like that that are situated in Singapore. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was another attempt by Nvidia to go around the export ban.
Mm,
Um,
interesting.
yeah, and the last one, Pfizer, this morning announced that their weight loss drug that was there were two trials. One was once a day, and the other one was twice a day. So they've canceled the twice a day, even though they got good results and everything. They're not going to move it to phase 3, and they're going to focus on once a day pill. And it took a nice little dip. It's down to 29 this morning. It looks like a much bigger move, but yesterday it
Hmm.
was 30 something. Now it's 29.
Got it.
Yeah, and that's about it.
And that's about it. All right, Stonks, what you got, buddy?
All right. So let's check out the ES. I think, first off, we got to just recap yesterday. I mean, we drew it up and it played out pretty much exactly, what we were talking about pre-market yesterday on the show. And I think, if you are out there and you're like, what? They keep talking about Mr. T and this shit's confusing. I think there's one important takeaway out of all of Mr. T's stuff would be the Max Payne find where the stops are and stop them out and then run it back, which is exactly what we were looking for yesterday. Yesterday we were looking at this level, and you can see, I mean, you'll see this over and over again when you start getting into the charts, but that was the low a day tick of the day, and we talked about that in the morning show. We saw the head and shoulders, and that was the low tick of the day, mainly just because there was some stops sitting there. So now I'm going to just move it down to here. So maybe if they need to stop out that guy, but it's just something you'll see it over and over again. Here's another one right here. This guy, stop out this guy and run it back. So if you're like trying to get through Mr. T stuff, this is one that you can just see repeating over and over, where they just find the stops, hit them, and then send it back the other way. So right here, I've this level moved up, so potentially grab these guys stops and fill in this 15-minute gap. I'd be interested to see what we do up there with it. These boxes here, we've got this hourly gap that's left open below, and then this one above. Now we've got, yesterday we did the head and shoulders. Now maybe if we're going to do a left shoulder head, right shoulder, kind of funky looking, but we'll see. And we're still stuck. We overshot this lower trend line of the rising setup and then ran it back. So, if we're going to be, chopping around, pulling back, I'd be interested to see, Bender had one last week where it was like, filling a gap, tagging a trend line. So this is kind of what I'll be looking for below down here. Maybe seeing what we do with this 45, 53, 25 area as we come back down. So I think that'll be interesting, kind of same thing that we've been talking about all week, right? That same area. So we'll see what we get if we pull back. And then the other interesting point about this level that would fill the 15-minute gap we just looked at is another Mr. T concept of potential bearish order block, which would be this candle here. If this was a bear that wanted to get in cheaper, you'd be looking at the midpoint, which also would fill that 15-minute gap. So I think if we get up there, that's going to be an important thing to keep an eye on up there on the 4590 on the ES. If we take a look at the NASDAQ, it's got similar, though we couldn't get back up into this range. And then we've got this hourly gap from this candle's low to this candle's high, which appears to still be a sensitive area. So would want to see if we can close above this 15,946.50. And then, again, here's like another example of this, find someone's stop. So there's going to be equal stops up there. And then this one was one where they just took the guy's stop and sent it back down. So if we can get back moving to the upside, imagine nice round number, 1600 16,000 would be interesting to see if we can get back up there and see what they do with it. So that's what we'll be looking at above. First, we would need to get over and hold above this 15,945, 946 area, and then 1600 will be important. Downside, gonna just kind of, this is a weekly gap with an orange box below. So I would be interested to see if we come down and tag this. Maybe that could offer some support where there's be a bunch of stops sitting again. So that's kind of what I'll be looking for here on the NASDAQ. If we jump over to the Russell, again, a good example. We talked about for pretty much like a full week. We talked about this level here, and then when they ran it, pulled back again. That same thing, looking for stops and reversing it. So now I'm going to be looking to see what they do with this potential double top right there above. So if we pop that 1823.30, again, where I was looking for, what do we do when we hit that level? Is it just a pause, which would mean we need to go back the other way, or is it crush through with momentum? So be watching that level above, and then we've got the same torture box we've been looking at for the past 2 weeks, essentially. We just stuck in a range below. If we're going to do the stop hunt game again, I'm going to see what we do with 1800.3. There's going to be some stuff sitting down there, and again, very similarly, that could line up with this lower trend line. So that could be a spot to be looking for long entries here on the Russell. Let's see what else. The setup on NVIDIA coming into today was interesting. We'll keep that on watch. Potentially got this falling wedge type of look to it. So below, got a key level here, 464.25. If we lose that, potentially could see some more downside. And then above, I'm going to be watching this 470.6. And then take a look at old reliable Apple. So swap the trend line a little bit here based on our kind of move down that we keep holding. Previously this week we've been talking about this. They gave it up, and now we're kind of running back the other way. So I'm going to kind of keep an eye on it. It's almost like a falling setup this way. We're sitting on this big dark pool here, 189.39. They keep stamped like pretty much 189.39 up through 189.90 is all dark pool here on Apple now. So this is kind of, and you can see this is just becoming the chop zone. So we're going to need to see which way we go out of that. Above, I'm going to be looking at 190.50, important level, rejection, wicks, rejection. So, and then yesterday we couldn't get above that either. So that's going to be what I'll be looking at. If we lose 189.39, we can keep an eye on this dark pool below at 188.01. So we've got a lot of money sitting up in this 189 area, and then 8% from November 15th down at 188.01. And I think that's about it.
All right, guys. I don't have anything else to add other than let's try to be diligent with flow. It is a Friday. We know how Fridays can be. You get a move and then you do nothing, and then later on in the day you might get another move. So let's see what they give us. Let's try to be smart and diligent about what we're doing. Protect your capital as always, and let's have a good, fun, clean day. You guys have anything else? Sonny? Stonks?
I am good.
All right, let's get after it. See you guys soon.
See ya.